And away we go. It is the Nightcap, late night edition right here on BearcatJournal.com, brought to you, as always, by our good friends at Galactic Fried Chicken. As always, visit www.galacticfriedchicken.com to download the app for Android, iPhone, and everything Galactic. Get down to Galactic Fried Chicken in Dayton. Tell them to pump it up. Save yourself 15% off of your meal. I had a member invite me to Galactic tomorrow, but we had some family plans already, and it's unfortunate. I'd love to have been able to go down. It's a guy that he lives in Nashville, and I guess his wife's family lives up in Ohio.
I think I saw that on Twitter where he was saying, like, I told her we're swinging through on our way.
Yeah, like our first stop from Nashville to northern Ohio is at Galactic Fried Chicken for dinner. I wish I could have made it. I'm going to have to, one of these days, I'm going to have to time up with Joe in Nashville and meet him and his crew for some Galactic Fried Chicken. I wish it could be tomorrow night. I don't know. The thing is, if I tell Kelsey, she'll make us cancel plans and go to Galactic Fried Chicken. She doesn't screw around when she hears that, like, there's a possibility that we could go to Galactic.
It's pretty funny.
Well, and school ends Thursday, so I know regularly now. She's got like 4 restaurants that she like, we're going here, and she won't let it go until we go. And Galactic is right at the top of that list. That kid crushes chicken legs, just crushes chicken legs. You would think tendies, like kids love tendies, right? No.
I love tendies.
Kelsey's advanced palate, the legs are better. The dark meat has more flavor than white meat because of the fat content.
I'm also a giant kid, so.
You are also a giant kid. My kid is more of an adult than you are.
No one's surprised.
Oh, boy. All right, let's get into it. We'll start off with the good news from today. The Bearcats opened up play in the American Athletic Conference tournament this morning against Tulane, and they dominated. 8-1 win. The American Athletic Conference Player of the Year, Griffin Merritt, with 2 dingers. That's right, 2 dingers. And Bo Keithley with a complete game. Gave up 1 run. That is...
Are you sure he had 2?
Yeah.
They listed it wrong then on Go Bearcats. They have it listed as... Oh, no, you're right. I scrolled wrong.
I was following it this morning.
It's late.
Saw the
I'm
video
tired.
I know. I saw the video of both of his home runs. I'm very sorry for keeping you up so late after attending the ESPN 1530 unofficial night at the ballpark with Mo and Tony and Austin, the man, Taryn Bland, Ricky Chino, Sarah Elise, the whole crew.
The Great American.
The Great American was there. Megan Coffee, that worked at UC for the past 8 years, was there. It's a good crowd. We had a great time. Kelly had a couple beverages, and I stayed sober and drove because that's the type of husband I am. When we go out, Kelly gets to drink and Chad drives.
When do we find out who the Bearcats play on Thursday?
They play the number 1 seed. So they play ECU Thursday afternoon, I believe. Thursday around 1 o'clock, I think, is the time for that.
This I can say with certainty that Go Bearcats only says TBD. So,
yeah, Thursday afternoon, 1 o'clock, Clearwater, Florida, Bearcats and ECU Pirates. So
catch it on ESPN Plus.
That's if you're going to win the tournament, you take down number 1 early, right? You knock them into the losers bracket, and then anything can happen.
To beat the man, or to be the man, you got to beat the man.
And we've seen a couple years ago, they turned it on at the right time, got hot for the American Athletic Conference tournament, and made it to the College World Series. So, or at least the regional round. Just missed out on making it to Omaha. So, that's an exciting day for the Bearcats baseball team. Love it for Coach Googs. He is notorious for getting his teams hot at just the right time, and no better way to do it than starting off with an 8-1 win. Cincinnati was the 4 seed. Tulane was the 5 seed. So you knocked Tulane into the losers bracket, and hopefully you did a good job by getting a complete game to save all your arms for the rest of the tournament.
For sure.
So that's something we will continue to track as the Bearcats continue to play down in Clearwater in the AAC tournament. Aaron, I don't want to get into another position preview tonight. We've reeled off a couple of those, and it's late, and I thought we'd do a little something fun tonight. I've seen this topic bounced around many a times, and I thought we'd spend a couple minutes on it. And that question is, what teams would you like to see Cincinnati play out of conference once they get into the Big 12? And I think it's an interesting conversation. I think some of the answers that people want are not likely or are not really feasible in the way things are structured anymore. And that's unfortunate, such as I don't think the Keg and Nails is an option with Louisville and the ACC. They already have their rivalry game with Kentucky at the end of the year. I don't think they're looking to add another Power 5 opponent.
Makes me sad.
It does. I'd love to see the Keg and Nails game back, even if it was just for a brief, like, 2-year home and home.
Right.
Yeah. And maybe, as you know, if Satterfield can continue to build that program up, maybe that's an option at some point. But everything points to the Big 12 sticking with 9 conference games, which, like it or not, the way that, from my understanding, the way that Cincinnati intends to go forward with this is one FCS game, so kind of a tune-up game, the game against Miami, and then one Power 5 opponent, and then the 9 Big 12 games to get you to 12.
Even if we all think that Miami is an FCS opponent.
Yes. But financially, it makes a lot of sense. It's a rivalry. And even if it wasn't Miami, it would be a MAC level G5 type program that would fill that spot. What you don't want to do, Aaron, really, honestly, you don't want 11 Power 5 games on your schedule. It's not smart.
Well, Alabama doesn't do it.
Nobody does it.
Right. And so that's something to be considered that I think a lot of people gloss over as they're just like, get this game the hell out of here. But, I mean, you're right. For all the reasons, financially, the rivalry, more the tradition of it, I guess, at this point. Yeah. It's not so much a rivalry.
No, and there's nothing that really can be done about that. Like,
no, the disparity is going to continue to get worse, actually.
Yeah. Go look at the recruiting rankings and tell me that things aren't going to continue. The gap is going to continue to widen.
Miami's just going to simply enjoy the donation from the Bearcats.
Right. So that leaves one Power 5 out of conference game every year. There will be there won't be any more bye games where Cincinnati is going to Arkansas to get paid for a one-off. I think they are strictly going to be operating in home and home agreements as this thing, goes forward. That would leave a spot open for Louisville, but I just don't know. I just don't know that I see Louisville jumping. So if you take Louisville out, because I know that's the easy one, right? Like everybody would love to see the Keg and Nails back. Are there any games in football that really jump out where you say, I'd love to see a home and home
absolutely
between these two teams? Who you got?
I got 2. So I'll give you one, and then we can switch over to you if you got one back and what have you. Pitt's the easy one, right? That's
the River City rivalry. There's a rivalry trophy for that
tradition of games that we've had with them. Some of the games that have just continued to be talked about in Bearcat lore. I think, and the fact that it's not a far travel, you're not having to switch time zones or even leave super early to try and get there and do walkthroughs a day or two before and all of that there.
Is there, I guess the question here would be, is the backyard brawl back on every year or is it spotty? I'm looking at 2019. They didn't play it. It's back on for 2022. But Pitt does have 2 Power 5 because the ACC only plays 8 out of conference. So they play West Virginia September 1st and Tennessee September 10th.
And maybe you can talk them into doing 2 Big 12 teams. Maybe not.
Yeah. I mean, it just depends, like a matter of if they're willing to do 2 Power 5 games a year, then there would be room for that. I just think when we do these, you have to
Sure, absolutely
think through. Like Kentucky also. I'd love to see Kentucky. I'd love, as much as those 2 programs internally hate each other, and they hate each other.
Mm-hmm.
They hate each other. I would love for that. But Kentucky has Louisville.
Yeah.
And they're looking to get 3 wins in non-conference. They have to get 3 wins in non-conference.
Because the SEC it's a gauntlet.
Right. And even in the SEC East, you have to make sure you're going to get to 6.
If the SEC East continues to exist.
Right. Even if it doesn't, I still think if they go to the 3-5 model where they have 3 teams you play, the 3 teams are going to probably stay pretty traditional. Like Kentucky's going to play 3 teams from the East. What is the East now? Right. Sure.
Yeah. I can't imagine Kentucky lining up for, I mean, everyone's going to want Kentucky on their schedule.
Kentucky would probably, Tennessee and Kentucky is a rivalry. Florida, Kentucky is a rivalry. If you look at the records, I mean, the Mark Stoops era has been better against Kentucky, Tennessee, and Florida. But if you look at the records over the past 20 years, the wins are not very plentiful for Kentucky. So I don't think they're looking to add a second game they might lose in addition to their SEC slate.
So Pitt could be a possibility.
Pitt could be a possibility.
Who you got?
I do like the idea of a Tennessee rivalry. That's not really that. It's a pretty quick trip. About 4 hours? 4 hours?
Yeah, roughly.
Down the road, 4.5 hours down the road to Knoxville.
They haven't been good in a long time.
Right? I mean, you could probably get you a win down there. I think it'd be pretty cool to see the Tennessee fan base travel to Nippert. They seem like a pretty cordial bunch, except for Dave. I think Tennessee would be fun. I'm trying to just think of how fun would it be every year to have Marcus versus Fick?
So I thought about that, but I just don't know.
They're only required to play 5 ACC games. They have to schedule 7 more games every year.
I guess my only question would be, knowing how good Notre Dame has been at home, and yes, Cincinnati did beat them at home, but how often is that going to happen if you did have...
I think they would be my number 1. Because the story, how awesome were the storylines leading into that game? And that was with Marcus as the defensive coordinator.
But, you also had some other storylines that are no longer here.
Denbrock and
Denbrock, Michael Young.
Yeah.
There's probably a couple more.
The connections were so...
There were a lot.
Intertwined, right.
Right.
But now you got Brian Mason up there. Mike Mickens is up there. Chad Bowden's up there.
Well, it seems to me that there's more Cincinnati guys up there than there are Notre Dame guys here at this point.
Of course, because Notre Dame is trying to treat Cincinnati as its feeder program. I'd love every year. Because there would be a sense of a rivalry now, the way that Cincinnati took over Notre Dame Stadium.
But I don't know that
Notre Dame fans would stop selling their tickets to Cincinnati, and it would be a story of, can Cincinnati fans get in?
No.
Or can Notre Dame fans get into Nippert?
I think there was also a situation there where you had a lot of Cincinnati fans traveling to a venue they'd never been to.
or they've clearly never seen Cincinnati
Right.
play in. A
Right.
lot of Cincinnati fans have been to Notre Dame for a game just for the
Yeah.
experience, but never to see the Bearcats play.
So I think that you might not ever see as many Cincinnati fans in that stadium ever again. And I think that creates a completely different atmosphere. And I don't know that I'd necessarily want to be making that trip often.
The other question would be, right now, Marcus Freeman is dominating the recruiting world.
Yeah, I don't know that I want any part of that either. Not if I can help it.
The least surprising thing ever is that Marcus Freeman is a head coach and is dominating the recruiting world.
Let's get into the Big 12, get our feet under us, and see where the chips start to fall before you're necessarily putting all of your eggs in that basket.
I'd love a home and home. Could you imagine Notre Dame at Nippert?
No, I don't know that they can imagine. I don't know that Freeman would sign up for that. He knows what this atmosphere can be like. And I know you would see Cincinnati fans as quick to sell their Notre Dame tickets either. So
what about Michigan State? Home and home with Sparty.
I had thought about that one, and that one makes, honestly, I think it makes a ton of sense. But is there a spot in there? Do they have any other rivalries outside of the conference?
I don't think so.
I don't think they do.
I think they're kind of like Cincinnati, where they just bounce around. They're like they play a Power 5 opponent typically, but like I don't think they have anybody that's like etched in stone. I mean,
I don't think so either.
They recruit the same area. Cincinnati's trying to become a power in Michigan.
Yeah. You
go up to East Lansing and beat Michigan State in front of a bunch of Michigan kids that you're also recruiting.
Yeah.
I think Michigan State would be a blast as well.
The other part of that is it's really easy to tell the recruits, hey, if you don't want to make that trip down to Cincinnati, every other year we're coming up here.
Right. Your parents can see you play.
At least for a game with all your friends, like whoever.
Michigan State would make a lot of sense.
I think it would be fun, especially, you already have the D'Antonio Connect where maybe you can make that work. He didn't leave necessarily on the best of terms, but my other one was actually Virginia Tech.
I think we've already played them enough.
Well, I just feel like they've left a bad taste in my mouth every time we've played them.
The Birmingham Bowl?
Well, I mean, not the Birmingham Bowl, but I guess before that.
The Orange Bowl. Well, you had the Munchie Legault to Damon Julian touchdown that beat him in D.C. in the regular season. Like Cincinnati's had a fair amount of success against Virginia Tech, considering the disparity of where the two programs were at in the hierarchy of college football.
It just seems like we were playing them an awful lot for a team that we don't have any reason to be playing nearly as frequently as we were.
You've got an AD that would probably be pretty easy to work with in making that happen.
Sure. So I don't know. I felt like that one would be kind of a fun game. Not having to travel terribly far. If you're doing it early in the season, the weather's
it's not far, but it is a pain in the ass to get there.
Because there's one way in, one way out, right?
Right. Greensboro is like, man, that place is tough to get to. Or Greenville. Wherever ECU is.
Yeah. I mess it up every time as well.
Good riddance. Be gone. Basketball. We've already gone way farther than this.
We have. I didn't expect this to take so long.
Basketball. I mean, Louisville.
Kentucky.
Yeah. The Big Blue Nation doesn't want any part of that still. It's a bad look. Ohio State. Holtman has shown a willingness to do it. I'd love to see a regular rivalry with Ohio State. And you have to say with Wes here, let's do North Carolina.
North Carolina would be fun.
Home and home with Carolina. I can guarantee you one there won't be a home and home with. NC State.
No, I can't see that. Or Duke.
I wouldn't rule out Duke. I think that would be fun to have an old Tar Heel go against Duke. There's a disdain for NC State from all North Carolina people, I think, because at least with Duke, they feel like they're like this, right? North Carolina people feel like North Carolina State is
The welcome mat.
Not even they're not little brother. They're like the bastard cousin. They're like the bastard cousin.
Redheaded stepchild.
Your Aunt Tammy married some guy with a kid, and that kid is NC State.
Problem child.
Right. Wrong side of the tracks.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about. You know the everybody's got one of those cousins that's not really your cousin that belongs in somebody else's family tree.
And if you don't, it might be you.
It might be you. It might be you. Yeah, it wouldn't be NC State. But
UConn might be fun.
I'd love.
I know you would.
That's nobody better. I love that man. UConn would be a blast. But yeah, I think North Carolina would be my number one on that list, just because I think it would be. There's some history. I mean, they've played in the tournament. They have a little bit of history against each other. There's at least some like backstory that can be told there, and especially with Wes like almost getting the North Carolina job.
Yeah,
and now Hubert Davis getting it and taking Carolina to a Final Four after everybody was on his shit like heavily. Like middle of January.
Would you want like a revenge 1-1 with Nevada?
No, Muss is gone.
Yeah,
like that. It doesn't move the needle for me anymore.
Not the same.
No, I don't think so.
What about UCLA?
Right. I would love it because I get to see my friends. Like the fan base. I know how the fan base would feel about it. I don't want to get into that again. I don't share my feelings on that anymore because it makes people mad. But I'd love to see my friends. So anytime I get to see my friends, I'm happy, right? And there's a lot of them that are in Westwood. So,
yep. All right.
Good show. I didn't know where we were going with that one when we hit record, but I think it worked out. Hope everybody enjoyed Justin Williams last night. Hope everybody, if you didn't get to catch that or Ryan Royer on the BBP, you go check that out. Ryan Royer being called by some the best podcast we've done all year, and I lean towards agreeing with that. This is the Nightcap, brought to you by Galactic Fried Chicken. He's Aaron Smith. I'm Chad Brendel, right here on BearcatJournal.com.
Sit.